Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees says 6 of its employees have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on one of the schools it runs in central Gaza. Gaza's civil defense spokesperson said 18 people were killed in the strike on Al-Juni school in Nuseirat refugee camp, which is being used as a shelter by thousands of displaced Palestinians. Israel's military says it carried out what it called a precise strike on terrorists planning attacks from the school, and that it had taken measures to avoid harm to civilians. UNRWA said the attack marks the highest death toll among our staff in a single incident since the start of the war. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy says the delivery of Iranian missiles to Russia has changed the debate about Ukraine using Western-provided long-range missiles against targets inside Russia. Mr. Lammy travelled to the Ukrainian capital with the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken after talks in London. They met President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has repeatedly called for allies to loosen limits on the use of Western-supplied weapons. The US and UK have so far not given Ukraine permission to use long-range missiles against targets inside Russia for fear of escalation.
And today I can confirm more than 600 million worth of support for Ukraine, including 242 million this financial year for immediate humanitarian, energy and stabilisation needs, as well as support for reform, recovery and reconstruction.
Peru's former president, Alberto Fujimori, who was convicted of human rights abuses and corruption, has died at the age of 86. Fujimori governed Peru between 1990 and 2000 before being forced from office amid allegations of corruption. His tough stance against a left-wing guerrilla insurgency while president also brought allegations of human rights abuses. But his supporters praise him for defeating the rebels at a time when they looked likely to seize power. He fled the country but was subsequently arrested and extradited before being convicted and jailed. Growing NHS England waiting times and delays getting emergency treatment are costing lives. That's according to a critical government-commissioned report on the National Health Service. People have every right to be angry, Keir Starmer said, adding the health service must reform or die. Health Secretary Wes Streeting has warned the NHS could go bust if the government does not reform it to account for an ageing society, more sick people and rising costs. He pledged to spend a greater proportion of the NHS budget on GPs, social care and community services than on hospitals, which he said would help alleviate pressure on the service overall.
The last government broke the NHS. Until this morning, we didn't know the full scale of the damage, which is laid bare in the report. Even Lord Darcy, with all his years of experience, is shocked by what is discovered. It is unforgivable, and people have every right to be angry.
The rock legend John Bon Jovi has been praised by police for helping a woman in distress who was on the ledge of a bridge in Nashville in Tennessee. The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department shared a video of the Bon Jovi frontman and his team who were at the John Siegenthaler pedestrian bridge when the woman was standing precariously over the Cumberland River. In the video, a woman in blue can be seen holding on to the railing while standing on the ledge. Bon Jovi then walks over to the woman with someone else as his team stand further away. The singer then can be seen waving hello at her and leaning on the railing near her. He eventually hugs the lady after she moves across the railing to safety. And finally, a New Zealand women's rugby player surprised King Charles after asking him for a hug at Buckingham Palace. The King was being introduced to the Black Ferns at Buckingham Palace when he was asked for an embrace by the winger Aisha Leteliga. After initially looking surprised, he said, "Why not?" before being affectionately mobbed by the group of players. Afterwards, he told the group it was like being flattened by a scrum. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.